I say that I don't believe in UFOs, but I also know that I had an experience with one. I don't know what it was. I was on my boat with my then wife and in the Bahamas. I was sailing in my 44 footer, and the bright light, it was right in front of me all of a sudden.
What didn't we talk about in this interview? Hi there, I'm Natasha Zouves, and yes, Geraldo Rivera talking about his very own experience with a UFO UAP sighting there. And in this conversation, he also talked about his relationship with President Trump. He talked about the most uncomfortable interview he's ever done and the real reason he left Fox News. Here's our conversation. Geraldo Rivera, welcome.
Thank you, Natasha. My pleasure being with you.
It's always great to see you. We put out the call, Geraldo, for the burning questions that people have always wanted to ask you. And the first one is the best piece of advice that your parents ever gave you.
My parents were very patriotic, and the best advice was, in their view, to work hard to succeed in the American system. And my dad was an immigrant. My mom, the daughter of immigrants. They got together in a melting pot way. My mom, cashier, and my dad, a kitchen help in the same cafeteria, 42nd Street and 6th Avenue. And they just worked hard. They got enough from the GI Bill after World War II to buy us a home in suburban Long Island, moved out of Brooklyn, and followed my dad's advice just to work hard. It's worked out. It's worked out for me. It's more difficult sometimes than it seems. You need a job, or you need to create one. But if you work hard at it, I think that's how you succeed, Natasha.
Tell me more about that work ethic. I relate to that so much. I'm also the daughter of immigrants. That work ethic is in you. And I know for me, it's not even necessarily the pressure imposed from them. It's in me. I don't know that I will ever be able to repay how hard my parents worked and the shoulders that I stand on, and not just my parents, but my grandparents, and it goes back. How has that lit a fire in you throughout your life?
Well, first, let me say that I can see, that the quality a person you are in terms
Oh,
of, how you come prepared to do interviews. You work hard at it. You're very sincere. You're not into cheap shots and so forth. And in terms of your parents, you pay them back. You exalt them. You pay tribute to them by your success. Here you are. You have your own weekend show already. A relatively young person. You've accomplished a lot. And I'm sure they're very proud of you already. I remember, I'll tell you a story. My first job after ABC sent me to Columbia for a crash course during the tumultuous 1960s and 1970. I went to work at ABC with no experience at all in what reporters did. I'd never even watched a reporter in action other than people interviewing me. But I remember the night I got home after my first assignment, which was the losing candidate in the Democratic primary for New York State Attorney General. My mom saw my hand in the shot. I have a tattoo of my hand, and she said, "I saw you on TV."
oh my
So they were
goodness.
very proud. It was almost like their dream had come true. The American dream certainly has been a wild, crazy ride, 54 plus years.
Yeah, the
Right.
staying power, Geraldo, is really something you don't see every day.
Yeah.
And this leads us to our next question, which is, what is the favorite interview you've ever done?
Oh boy, I think that I've had different kinds of favorites. Uh, Interviewing the biggest stars in the world, from the Beatles to the Rolling Stones to Barbara Walters, Barbara Streisand, all the great singers, actors, actresses. It's hard for me to single out a single one, but I have to say, in terms of the uh, my interest in the developmentally disabled.
Hmm.
Those have really been the ones that have had the biggest impact. And when I go to sleep and when I think about this career and how I will be remembered in it, it is those interviews with my buddy Bernard, who is in the institution for 21 years misdiagnosed as mentally retarded, and he really had cerebral palsy. It is being kind of the people's person
Hmm.
rather than the stars person. I think that I've always been able and have always been gratefully. I'm part of the people, not part of the in crowd.
Isn't that the best part of the job when you can turn the spotlight and the attention towards something that really needs it? And, I want to ask about your interest in championing these stories of people who have developmental disabilities. I don't know if you know this, my only sibling, my little brother, has a profound developmental disability. He's autistic and nonverbal. It is the thing that has shaped my life the most, the single thing that has shaped it. For you, where does that come from? That will and desire to really hone in and bring to light those stories.
The story was a tip that came to me from a doctor who worked with me when I was a lawyer for the Young Lords in East Harlem. They had taken over some buildings. It was very notorious. And so the story mechanically was just a tip. But what it has been for me over the decades is it's been my heart's goal,
Mm,
my ambition, my dedication. Uh, to make that world for your brother. It just I can tell you this: when I see a family and this in the street, on a sidewalk or wherever, and a mom, a dad, and a kid who's developmentally disabled in some way, the parents look at me and I look at them, and we have a bond. We have an
mm,
emotional connection because they know that I know how hard it is. They know that what society has done to tie their hands and just uh, make them disadvantaged in many ways.
mm,
Working hard to be allied with those families, those parents like your family.
mm.
And all I could say is, from your parents' point of view, I just now, I instinctively knew it when you interviewed me on your weekend show, that you are that the person. Your parents must be enormously proud of you. They must, thank God for you and your sibling. And I'm sure that you work hard to make things as pleasant as possible. And
Yeah, I mean, did not expect to be the one getting emotional in this interview. Did not expect Geraldo validating me in the course of this conversation, but it's true. I carry my brother everywhere. I carry him everywhere I go because I know there's so much that he will not get to experience. But I want to go back and ask because you have interviewed so many big, big, big stars. You mentioned Streisand, the Beatles, Rolling Stones, etc. Are there any anecdotes in particular that would surprise people from those big celebrity interviews?
Bill Clinton recently, former President Bill Clinton, has said that it's a myth to think that to say that the Palestinian people have been denied a state. That he in 1998 negotiated something that should have held certainly by the year 2000. And I was in the West Bank in Ramallah when Palestinian Chairman Arafat was released from house arrest by the Israelis. And we had a conversation, Yasser Arafat and I had a conversation in his home in the West Bank in 2002. Yasser Arafat told me that he was sorry he did not take the deal that President Clinton had negotiated.
Hmm.
And when I think about that, I think about all that's happened to the disadvantage of so many innocent people, so many lives lost, and so much
Yeah.
atrocity, uh, violence committed. Uh, I think about that that man. I told that story to Ehud Barak, who was at the time the prime minister of Israel. Just as an aside, I was on an assignment around a little after that in the region. I was with Ehud Barak. It was, I guess he was the former prime minister when we spoke. And I said that Yasser Arafat told me in this interview that he's sorry that he didn't take the deal that you guys negotiated. And Ehud Barak said, "I wish he had told me that." And you
Mm,
know, to be part of history in that sense, to be, to be at these great happenings, these events, these in human history, these things that move so many people, that affect so many people,
right.
it's really been a tremendous privilege to me. I've been honored, and when you talk about so 54 years, 55 years in the business. September will be 55 years. Uh, that's a long time to be accepted by an audience.
Yes.
That's not just one mindset. It's different generations and different priorities. And look at the word woke. Woke used to be a cool word. Now woke is a disparaging word. Just to live through so many changes and challenges. From the civil rights movement to the anti-war movement to 9/11 and the towers and the war on terror and the unsettled and the TSA coming to airports and now with immigration crackdowns and my old friend President Trump in charge, it's hair raising sometimes all the things I have seen. But the fact is that I have, and I'm honored to have been a witness to history, and I'm honored that people still care about what I have to say about
Mm, mm.
what's going on.
Let me ask you the follow-up question to that initial one, which is what is the most uncomfortable interview you've ever done?
I remember very clearly after all these years, I was on the initial cast of Good Morning America when David Hartman was the host, Nancy Dussault. It was it was a small period, the original cast, but David Hartman was out, so I was the substitute host of Good Morning America, the big network morning show, and there I was, probably 29 years old, or just a kid in the business still. And with no experience. Anyway, so I was there interviewing James Caan and Elliot Gould. They were starring in a movie. I forget the movie. It was a forgettable movie. They gave me the hardest time.
Mm,
They were so disrespectful to me. They were so. They played me and gave snotty answers, and I could see they were conspiring. Anyway, years later, I told them that story and individually, and they both give me a apology to
mm.
an extent. But
What do you do in that circumstance? You just maintain the
I
professionalism,
just
soldier through?
I just I said to myself, you know, how do they get off on that? What a stupid low down. Anyway, I got back at them by telling the story from time to time, and people ask me.
We're still talking about it. Um, okay, here's another question. What was it like doing Dancing with the Stars?
Well, I was much better at Celebrity Apprentice, where I came in
Mm,
second and I did much better. And of course, Trump was there every single day for 6 weeks. But with Dancing with the Stars, I had already, I don't know if you noticed, but I was a war correspondent until I was 69 years old, until 2012. Uh, but the reason I gave it up, it wasn't that the fact that I was going to be 70. I gave it up because I had a handicap. My back, from carrying all those knapsacks all those years, I just finally was physically broken down. Uh,
mm,
I was already limping by the time I did it in the opening, and I should have let them know, let the producers know that, hey, dude, I'm not going to be able to do much spinning around. And not only that, I just couldn't remember the steps. I felt so bad for my partner, the professional dancer. She was such a pleasant person. Uh, so they made me kind of they had a beach scene, and I was the lifeguard and I blew the whistle. And that was after I was eliminated. So it was pretty humiliating, I must say. My whole family was there watching.
humiliating, really?
Yes, it's very embarrassing.
Why did you do it? Why did you do it?
Well, I don't know, because I had done Celebrity Apprentice and that was kind of cool. And, I was bored with covering whatever I was covering at Fox News at the time. And,
Yeah.
a lot of others had done it. Tucker Carlson did it the year before me. And like Tucker Carlson, I was the first one eliminated.
Okay, ready for the next question.
Yeah.
Why did you really leave Fox?
Well, I left Fox because they fired me from the Five, which was the big hit show on at 5 o'clock Eastern time.
Why did they do that?
Put that aside for a second. I quit the network because they had fired me from the Five. They when they fired me, I said, you still have 2 years on your contract. Stick around, and we'll find something else for you to do. And I said, nuts. I wasn't going to stay around. You fired me. Now, why did they fire me from the Five? I had a very, very bad blood with Greg Gutfeld. I mean, really had a very not only contentious, that kind of conflict is makes good TV very often, but
Hmm.
it was low down. It was kind of snotty.
Was that all good fun and just to make good television, or was there something personal to what was
Oh
going on there?
no, you ask Dan Bongino, now deputy head of the FBI, with whom I had over 30 confrontations. It was really not only emotional but real. I mean, he represented a section of the American people that I was at odds with, and vice versa. And we gave different worldviews of what happened. Certainly of January 6th, what happened. We would shout at each other, and we I think represented the divisions in the country over the president's false claim that he won the 2020 election.
There was one shouting incident in particular that went particularly viral. Do you know the one I'm talking about?
Yeah, well, I know there were several, but yeah, for sure, it was one where I turned my back to him. I remember.
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah.
but there was violence and that. But see, with Dan Bongino, that was like fair fighting. I
Hmm.
had no problem with that. I thought that he was well within his rights, and I come to hold him in much higher regard than you might expect. I was happy when he got the endorsement to be deputy director of the FBI. I think he's going to be very good for the bureau and the Department of Justice. He's a real lawman. In the sense of Gutfeld, he was just a punk.
Did it become a toxic situation on that show?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I don't know about on the show, but certainly between us.
And I know that, your appearances started to taper after that, even though you were still under contract. In retrospect, any thoughts, any feelings about your departure from Fox?
Well, it made me think a lot that I wish I had stayed in the talk show business. That I wish
Hmm.
I had a hit daytime talk show that ran 11 seasons. I could have still been on and made it newsy enough to have the same impact I have. I had as a newsman at Fox and then now at NewsNation.
Why did you leave the talk show world?
Well, 9/11 was what happened. I mean, first of all, I left because NBC offered me Dateline, and that gave me a kind of affirmation that even though I had left the news business to be a daytime talk show host, that the news business was willing to take me back. And so I
Yeah.
did the Rivera Live on CNBC. And Rivera Live, just by happenstance, was on the air when O.J. Simpson had the infamous white Bronco chase. And
Hmm.
so I chased O.J. Simpson for 3 or 4 years on CNBC and on my daytime show.
Yeah.
So 9/11 happened. 9/11 happened. I had my uh, NBC show. I said, 9/11 has been not only an attack on my country, but an attack on my family. Uh,
Hmm.
my two of my cousins live and work in the trade center. They both survived, thank God.
Hmm.
Uh, but that attack was so personal, and what it did to New York and the country was so outrageous that I wanted to personally kill Osama bin Laden. I became
Hmm.
my life's motivating force. I wanted to be in the center of the six of the dads that died in 9/11 were co-parents with me at Rumson Country Day at the suburban elementary school that my daughters attended. So six of the dads died on 9/11. I
Wow.
said, I got to get to Afghanistan. I've got to do everything I can to, punish the Taliban, punish
Your
the
heart
people.
turned back towards hard news and being a war correspondent.
It did for sure.
Yeah. This is an interesting question. If you could give yourself a piece of advice near the start of your career, what lesson do you wish that you learned sooner?
I think the main, what I would say to young people who are getting into the journalism business, it is a business. Remember that they want to make money, they want to be successful, but you have to protect your honor. And I think that what I would suggest is that people don't rush to be anchors, that they first become reporters,
Mm.
that reporting is the heart of what we do. Uh, and looking good and being a good presenter is important. But being a reporter is, I think, the biggest the biggest asset and the most important role that we play, communicating not only the events of the day. Beginning with the developmentally disabled, I learned how to use the media for positive social change, not just communicating, here's what happened, it's raining, or
Hmm.
this institution is awful, but here we are going to fix the institution by reforming the way we deliver care to this population. And so the advocacy role became very important, not just the reporting,
Hmm.
but the advocating. And you can't advocate unless you know. And I think you find out by being a reporter and seeing with your own eyes.
Absolutely. That North Star can carry you through a lot of long hours and dark nights, at least for me personally in this career. What about outside of work, in terms of your life and your personal life? What lesson do you wish that you learned sooner?
I may have been too much in the show business celebrity side of it. I may have been too seduced, certainly at periods in my life, by stardom, and by celebrity,
Hmm.
by going to the front of the line and stuff like that.
Tell me more about that.
We coddle celebrities in many ways in this country. We give them superior treatment, and it's easy to be seduced by that.
Hmm.
Easy to be to come to expect,
Hmm.
VIP treatment.
How do you manage your own ego in all of this? Because you are very down to earth, and that has been my experience of you. How have you not let all of this get to your head?
Well, I'm sure that it has gotten to my head to a certain extent. The question is whether or not I can keep it in proportion with the other real things in my life.
Hmm.
I'm very family oriented. I have 5 kids. I have 5 grandkids. I have 4 ex-wives. I have a wonderful marriage now that's lasted over 20 years with Erica. If I if I have regrets, it's during those periods where I was less responsible.
Geraldo, tell me about your staying power. 5 decades plus, we're still going here. There are a lot of people out there who look good on TV, who are charismatic, who present well. What is it about you that has allowed you to just keep going and to be accepted by audiences for this many decades?
Well, the acceptance part is more complicated. The general answer is fitness. I think fitness, aside from fidelity, fitness is the most important aspect of life. You've got to stay in shape. You've got to, be ready for any challenge. You've got to, I've the physical aspect of being a reporter is, you've got to pay some dues in the gym or uh, wherever it is. You've got to physical fitness is as important as mental fitness
Hmm.
to be a reporter. So I'm almost 82. I'll be 82 in July. Uh, if it wasn't for my back, I don't know. I feel great. Otherwise, and my mind is still. We do all those commercials for all those drugs that keep you sharp in old age. I haven't gotten to them yet, but maybe I will. Maybe I'll do it today after this interview.
Do you work out every single day?
I try to. Yeah, I
And what
try.
does that look like for Geraldo Rivera? Is that a treadmill situation?
Well,
Are
that's a
there
good
weights?
question. Good question. I First of all, I read the New York Times and the Cleveland Plain Dealer here in Cleveland. Uh, my rule is you have to. I want to read the paper from front to back on the bike. I can't read the paper. I love reading the paper. I love newspapers. It really is in my blood, but you can't read them unless you're on the exercise bike. Then once you read the paper, you put it away, put it aside. Then you go fast on the bike. You do the big, big aerobic. And then as you're panting away, you start doing, the sit-ups, the push-ups, uh, the weights. And it's really, you know, it's served me well, uh, staying fit. Now I'm just a shadow of my former self, but
I don't know why you keep saying these things, Geraldo. Would you say that you're hard on yourself?
oh, I don't know about being hard. I think that what you have to prevent is being spoiled
Hmm.
and being too self-centered. You've got to consider the other person's feelings always. Uh,
Yeah.
but in terms of going back to one of your first questions, advice from my parents and to work hard, staying fit, and mentally, emotionally, and physically is I think not only the key to work but also to life.
Have there been any prices that you have paid for the level of drive, ambition, success, and achievement in your life?
I I, uh, I try not to nitpick. If only I had this, or if only I had done this. You don't get to be uh, half a century and several generations uh, without having improbable success.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like rolling the dice and hitting the right number.
I don't think that many people understand the rigors and the schedule of being a war correspondent. Um, how did that impact your relationships? Were you able to show up for your children the way that you wanted to?
I remember John Moody was the boss at Fox, and we had done a Thanksgiving in some base you know, in Afghanistan, the middle of nowhere. And so Christmas came around that same year, and my brother Craig, who was my producer, spoke to John Moody and said, John, uh, we have families and our kids will miss us. And Moody said to Craig, I'll never forget, your kids will get over it.
Mm.
So just
That was the culture. That was the attitude.
no, that was definitely the culture.
Did you feel like you missed out on a lot of key things?
I think that maybe, and this is probably the best reason for not staying with the daytime talk show is you don't want to just repeat yourself. You don't want to just go, uh, you know, keep plotting. Longevity is a wonderful reward, but it should not be the only reward.
Yeah. This is a new topic. What do you think about UFOs and UAPs?
I, I, I say that I don't believe in UFOs, but I also know that I had an experience with one. I don't know what it was. I was on my boat with my then wife in the Bahamas. I was sailing on my 44 footer, and the bright light it was right in front of me all of a sudden, and I steered the boat to get away from that big light, and the light moved with me. Then it went the other way, and the light moved with me. So I definitely had that experience.
What was going through your mind?
Well, I was also on drugs and alcohol, so
Geraldo. Oh no. There goes the credibility of this fascinating account.
right, right.
Did did your partner see it as well? Was she similarly under the influence? Do you
No,
feel you
no,
actually
no,
saw
and no,
something?
no, and no, no, and no. So
So what do
I
you
have no
make of
corroborating
seeing
witnesses.
that?
Well, I think that there's no absolute answer when it comes to I don't know what I don't know, and I don't know everything. That's for sure. So uh, all I can say is, even in my life, there are mysteries, unsolved mysteries. Although I have New York City skepticism, I think that anything's possible.
Roughly what year was this?
Oh, that would be late 70s.
And it didn't make you a believer in UAPs?
Um, well, I'm not sure if it did or not. I don't know. As I said, I believe that anything's possible. I just am a believer in the physical universe much more than I am. Even though I've grew up as a fan of Captain Video and the Space Rangers and the Lone Ranger and shows that are very romanticized. I, down to earth, I know that there's life and love and work and death.
Do you think that we should be trying to make contact with other
Oh yeah,
extraterrestrial life out
I'm
there?
I'm all for the various satellites with signals that they send out to the far reaches of the solar system and beyond. I believe that beeping, the planet over in this sector of the universe, the blue seas is, I can't believe for a second that with the universe as infinite as infinite universe. Uh, that we are alone as the only conscious sentient race. I don't believe that. I can't
Yeah.
believe that.
Do you believe that the public should have full disclosure, that the public has the right to all of the information that the government knows about UFOs and UAPs?
I think, as a general rule, the government should not be possessing secrets that, unless there's a real, very specific national security or public health reason for it. Uh, so whether it's the Jeffrey Epstein papers or the Warren Commission report on the Kennedy assassination, I don't think that anybody benefits by secrets. And I am much more in favor of disclosure than I am withholding that information.
Tell me more about that. Are you concerned at all that if all of the information was released to the public, it would incite hysteria, panic, chaos?
No, no, I don't think that, because I'm too much of a New York City skeptic to believe that any information like that would ever be that impactful. I think that if a little green man showed up, William Morris would seek to sign him to a celebrity contract. You know, I, uh, I don't worry about the end of the world.
Okay, we have one more topic here. How would you describe your relationship through the years with President Trump?
Let's talk about a little. I started with President Trump in the 1970s. He was a big shot. He was not a big shot. He was a rambunctious, highly energized bolt of lightning from the borough of Queens who came to Manhattan in the mid 70s. And I was a newsman in the same territory. So it was inevitable that we ran into each other. And then we had a relationship that I interviewed him for the Eyewitness News days. And then my other shows during the 1970s and the 1980s. There was another 1990s. He'd come on my daytime show all the time. We would talk. I never. I was at the Washington Correspondents' Dinner when they made such bitter fun of him. President Obama mocked him, where I believe in 2011, that was May 2011, when he decided that he was going to be president of the United States, but that he was going to show them. And now I think that anything is possible. I think that, our relationship ended on January 6th, but I tell you that I believe that it's possible that he'll challenge the 22nd Amendment and seek a third term.
You think that's a real
I
possibility?
do. He won the 30 states, so 38 is three quarters. 38 of 50, is eight more states uh, undoable. I think that anything is possible, particularly because his popularity is so resilient. I have not spoken to him. He doesn't scare me. Uh, he's never said a bad word about me, as far as I know, despite the fact that I've criticized him on TV. Uh, I think that there's a lot of what he's doing that's very exciting. I'm sure that there are, hundreds of thousands at least accounts in the Social Security system that are bogus, and on and on. His relationship with Musk is curious, but I think that he's an extraordinary force of nature. The way he survived the assassination attempt, made me love him all over again. I thought that
Hmm.
the way he handled that with dignity and strength, courage.
What do you think most people don't realize about him?
The opinions about Trump are so impassioned. They're so raw. Often, people hate him, or I think that the people that hate him don't realize how unique he is, and maybe the people who love him don't realize how unique he is. Also, maybe the extraordinary uniqueness is uh, is both his strength and his weakness. I, I, I still love him. I say I love him. Uh, he used to call here, and he was very, you know, like chummy. We had extensive conversations. He'd do my local radio show, for goodness sake. He gave me a couple of whole hours and an audience, a tiny audience in Northeast Ohio. Uh, I think that what he's very thin-skinned. He doesn't take criticism very easily, and he responds over responds. He always seeks the death penalty for his enemies. But on the other hand, he's a very kind person. He's a very uh, loving person. He's generous with his time, as I mentioned. He loves his friends. My wife Erica is absolutely opposite for me. She doesn't give him any slack at all. She doesn't like him. She refused to go to Mar-a-Lago, and refuses to this day. Even if I were to make a journey there to pay homage to him, she wouldn't go. She's of the feeling that there is no good there. The, you know, I'm not that way. I
Hmm.
think that he's got a lot of good in him.
You've said that he doesn't call the house anymore.
No more.
What message would you send him if he did?
Well, I think that Musk is great, and this whole shaking up the federal government is great, but you can't do it in an improvisational way. You can't do it in a kind of a herky jerky. It's got to, when you're affecting so many thousands of people's lives, you've got to make sure you know what you're talking about. You have to know what you're doing. You can't send a letter out on Wednesday and then refute it on Friday. You got to be careful. And I think that the fact that Musk was part of that, he spent $25 million in that Wisconsin State Supreme Court judge race and lost. So he's got to be careful. The American people, they're like, being on TV is like they have a lie detector.
Hmm.
So, you see it long enough, you see through everybody. And I think that Musk is on the cusp of he's flirting with rejection. You can't buy everything. Trump doesn't buy stuff. He does it with charisma. And Musk is a wonderful, wonderful, maybe the smartest person in my lifetime. Um, but the American people have to be assured that you have their best interest in mind,
Hmm.
and that what you're doing is not just making a show, that what you're doing has I'm sure that most people believe that there's waste, fraud, and abuse and all the rest of that. But they've got to, he's got to, they have to, the Musk, Trump co-presidency, they've got to be careful that they don't make things worse.
It's so interesting that you're picking up on this. I was just having a conversation with former New York Mayor Bill de Blasio, and he framed that Musk could be a potential golden ticket for the Democrats. Do you think that Bill de Blasio is right about that?
Well, I think that he possibly can be. I mean, Musk, being rich is great, and being the richest man on earth is really great. But you can't think that money buys everything. That whole idea that I'll give you $1 million if you're the first one to register, or I'll give you $100 if you sign this petition, or I'll give you $50. Money doesn't buy everything. And particularly if, when you give $1 million to one person, there's a lot of people that did not get any money, who are now looking at it and say, what the hell is this? This is not a fair guy. This is a show person. This is a person has his own agenda. I'm not saying that that's true. I'm saying that I understand how you could have that, you know, have that fear about Musk. But
Hmm.
I also want to emphasize that he could be the smartest person in my lifetime.
Geraldo Rivera, thank you so much for your time. It has been such a pleasure speaking with you.
Good luck. Good luck to you. And I'll do
Thank
your
you.
show anytime you want.
Thank you. I will take you up on that.
Okay. Bye bye.